Hi, this is Interesting Takes with Ethan and Justin, and we're going to talk about Arthur.
Every day when you're walking down the street,
Yeah,
something, something.
that's a
Yeah,
great song. Do you know who
it
sings
is.
it?
I do not.
Well, it's Ziggy Marley, the son of Bob Marley.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah.
Now was it Bob or Ziggy who was like literally killed on stage? I feel like one of them was. They were shot. Maybe they were just shot. They didn't die from the shot.
Yeah, well,
Doesn't
I didn't have the answer to that. So,
sorry.
anyways, yeah, we're here to talk about Arthur, and it's essentially a PBS cartoon that
Mm.
a lot of people that didn't have cable growing up probably watched. So I was surprised to hear that you actually watched the show when you were a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I will admit it was not my like first choice, but it's kind of funny. I had a period in middle school where I'd come home and you definitely want to unwind before you start your homework. I mean, come on. I mean, you've been there like
Yeah.
you want to watch some TV, have a snack, whatever it is. And so I would watch the local channels because actually on the cable, I mean, I would mainly watch Nickelodeon on cable and it was like Slime Time Live, and I started with that, but it was so dumb that I just wanted to see like plain and simple. Let's see what SpongeBob is up to. We didn't have any of that BS. We're
Mhm.
just gonna have plain and simple programming. So I watched for a minute. I was into the local station, which would play music videos of the time. And I ended up really actually knowing a lot of the hot songs from 2003 and 4. Like,
Yeah, there was like Outcast was on there all the time
oh
with
yeah,
Hey Yeah and Roses,
yeah.
and Maroon 5 I think was on there, you know.
Yeah,
Um
and then, that one song, "Sexy ladies wanna party with us, they wanna turn around another early morn." I don't
yeah,
know,
that's a great
remember
song.
that? Yeah, yeah, it's not bad. And so I watched all and then, Good Charlotte and, like, Pink on the Charlie's Angels 2, music yeah,
See,
so
I was
I
introduced to some of those through Madden with Good Charlotte, and
yeah, right,
Alien Ant Farm was on Tony Hawk
yeah.
and Madden.
There was a period of time where I literally watched those videos multiple days in a row, and because I liked certain songs that would come on, and the rotation was always the same. It was like this one, this one, this one, right? So it was always and pretty much at the exact same,
Well, this was
hour
before
and minute.
YouTube, so you
Yeah,
basically had to watch the music videos when they were on TV, and you really
exactly.
didn't have a choice of what to watch. So
And I would also watch PBS, and so
so
they
you
showed
watched it when
Arthur
you were
in the
12?
afternoon.
Like, that
Yeah,
age?
like 12, maybe.
So did you watch Art? You didn't watch it when you were like 6 or 7, right? That young?
No, no.
Okay, so that's a big difference because I
Yeah.
remembered watching it at that age, and
Uh-huh.
then maybe I stopped watching it when I was 12.
So it was probably pretty impactful for you because it's geared towards the 6 to 10-year-old range, I feel.
Yeah, I was watching it when it was brand new, right? Some of the earlier
Yeah.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so I had this kind of knowledge of the idiosyncrasies. Like I knew when they changed Arthur's voice, for example, because
Oh, wow.
yeah, he like the first voice actor would do this major gasp, like that kind of a thing, and
Uh,
but it sounded very wheezy, right? Like it sounded
yeah.
like it was like multiple people doing it, like a bagpipe almost. And when Arthur stopped doing that, I realized they changed to a new voice actor.
Interesting.
And then I do remember Arthur went through puberty because like his voice got really deep. I guess they got a younger voice and they started to change it. So
So they had a new person do the voice at that point?
yeah,
Probably.
yeah, because I think Buster, Francine, a lot of those voices are just the same people that just did it
Yeah.
throughout the whole time. But with
Right.
Arthur, eventually, the kid voice gets older, and if you can't replicate it somehow, then you just have to get a new voice actor.
So they were actually that's I mean, and not every cartoon does this. They were advancing in age then.
No, they
And
weren't. They were not advancing in age. The
oh.
the voice actors were
Oh, they had a kid actor doing Arthur. Okay.
right. They had a kid actor. His voice got deeper, and so he
Yeah.
couldn't play Arthur convincingly anymore.
Oh, wow.
But then, yeah, so they replaced him with someone, and so Arthur's been voiced by a lot of people. And the funny
Yeah.
fact is, DW, his sister, is always voiced by a boy.
I mean, Bobby Hill from King of the Hill is voiced by a full-grown woman, and actually, that's pretty common for women to voice boys in cartoons, even
Well,
from what
that's
I
more
understand.
common than boys voicing girls.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think Bob's Burgers might be the only exception, but
Yeah, that's one thing about that show. It's like you have The Simpsons, for example. You have like Nancy
yeah.
Cartwright voicing Bart in Millhouse. It's hard for like a grown man to have that type of voice that you could play Bart, but Bob's Burgers is you have two characters that were voiced by men.
And there were a few voice actors that went on to further careers. Like, for example, Steven Crowder voiced Brain, right? So that was like his break into Hollywood, I suppose, then, maybe.
I don't know if it's considered Hollywood. I don't know if
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
voice actors, because I think they're from Canada, some of them,
Oh,
or
yeah, that makes
Boston.
right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, Arthur, so you must have liked it then if you watched it from 6 to and then you stopped at 12, you got into older things then, but you
Well,
must have liked it, I would assume.
yeah, I think what it was there was like a 3 o'clock to, I don't know if it's like 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock window, maybe, where they show
Um,
cartoons from, Disney, the Disney afternoon cartoons, or the Fox Kids cartoons, right? In the weekdays.
yeah,
And then at like 5 o'clock, that's when Arthur showed up. So I would always just watch that block and then watch Arthur and then do
nice.
my
Did
homework.
they do, a, 5 o'clock Arthur and a 5:30 Arthur?
Nah, I think
Oh,
5:30 was the Crap Brothers or something like that.
and the Crap Brothers.
Yeah.
So, alright, so it was a 5 o'clock Arthur. That's kinda cool because that's a nice time, 5 o'clock PM, that is there's something about that time that seems really profound.
Yeah.
Maybe that's weird to say, but
Well, it's before the news and it's
right.
before a sports game that you might watch,
Yeah, right,
or your
exactly.
dad might watch at the time, or mom.
Yeah. It's sort of like a little, like a little briefing, like, "Hey, this is, did you experience this in school, guys? Maybe you did, and maybe you can relate.
Sure, I guess.
And now here's the game."
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's a good show. It was entertaining because normally I think with PBS shows, you think they're kind of slow, just for the little kids, right?
Arthur was more witty, I feel.
Yeah. Well, Sesame Street was very witty when Jim Henson was there, but
Oh, yeah,
like, I
yeah.
guess after he passed away and after Elmo became the star, it's
Yeah.
stopped being that way. But yeah, go back to Arthur. Yeah, Arthur was witty too. They did some jokes that maybe the adults would understand.
It looks like so Arthur began as a book series in the 70s, 76. His very first book that was released, Arthur's Nose. So this it was about him being an aardvark and having a big nose. And so the very first issue in the book series was mindful of their different animal species.
Right. So the book actually addressed the whole ideal of animals, right? Like
Yeah.
animals have big noses, or big ears. Because I remember in the show they addressed him wearing glasses.
Right, which is like we can all relate to that. The TV show, it began in 96 and it went till 2022. That's kind of a long time. I mean, that's actually pretty considerable for a cartoon.
Yeah,
So a
it's
lot of people liked it. I mean, it was definitely a hit. And I mean, you can see it now. Like there's a lot of memes on wherever you go on the internet, various corners that are Arthur memes. There's the one of him with the fist.
they had some interesting episodes. I remember they had this 9/11 style episode.
Really?
Yeah, where, and this was probably well after I stopped watching it, but
Yeah.
I did watch it for that because you know how like some shows they tackle 9/11, right? And they actually use the whole events actually happening, but instead of 9/11, I think there was like a euphemistic way they presented it where
Oh.
Arthur's dad was catering and then the kitchen catches on fire at their school, and Arthur's scared about his dad. It's like this whole big event,
Interesting.
you're right, but then it's not 9/11, it's something else.
I was gonna ask, was that one of those two-parters? Like in a
Yeah.
yeah, 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 for sure.
And then they had to go to the school with the other kids, the Mighty Mountain School. and then all the kids at Mighty Mountain were really big, like Binky. So that was a pretty funny episode. I mean, not funny, but it's fun to think about why they made it. And
That's interesting. So, but it definitely reflects kind of the attitudes about 9/11, and it kind of captures that, like, the anxiety that we all felt as Americans that day kind of thing.
yeah,
Well, Arthur, I mean, from what I recall, he's an aardvark. He's got 2 younger sisters, DW, who's very annoying,
mhm.
um, and then the little baby sister, and they live with their parents in a suburban neighborhood. And his best friend, Buster Bunny, is a bunny. Their class is made up of various animals. The ones that I remember,
There's Brain.
Francine,
Francine's
Brain. Yep.
Francine's a monkey. Uh,
Brain is a bear, right?
Brain's a bear.
Yeah.
Muffy's a monkey.
Yep.
Binky's a bulldog.
Yeah.
Sue Ellen's a cat.
Yeah.
Fern's a dog, and George is a moose. I think that's the ones that were like the main.
They were like the main ones.
Yeah,
The other ones were kind of just in the background. Binky was like the class bully, which as a bulldog, that's pretty fitting.
yeah, and he was the voiced by the same guy who voiced Arthur's dad.
Hmm,
So it's pretty fun.
very cool. Brain is the bear. Now that's interesting. A bear is the intelligence factor. And I suppose that bears would be smarter than aardvarks and bunnies. And I mean, I would think smarter than their very teacher, Mr. Ratburn, who was a rat. But then,
Yeah, if
there
you're
he,
thinking of them as literal animals, probably
well,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and that's actually what you wanted to talk about too. It's like,
yeah.
do they experience racism in Arthur? Are they
Zooism
right?
or speciesism.
Right? Do they kind of dislike each other in that way? Like,
So you watched the show more than me, but from what I remember, like it really seemed like it was very diverse. And I mean, you think about it, Ziggy Marley with that theme song, like that's pretty like progressive, like that vibe.
mhm.
We're all just here to love each other and get along with each other. Hey,
Yeah, but they also have a banjo play in the background. That could be seen as not as progressive. Uh,
yeah. Somebody could bring that up and say that that really triggers me hearing that banjo because it reminds me of.
yeah,
um, I do think that that whole animal kingdom hierarchy, when you try to view Arthur from that lens, it becomes a little interesting because you have Arthur, who's the aardvark. Francine and Muzzy are monkeys. You have a bulldog, Binky, who's the bully, and that does make sense. A bulldog kind of ruh, 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 he's just like aggressive and he's gonna like bark at you about who you are, like you're an aardvark, like I don't like you,
right.
so that makes sense. But then Brain is a bear, and yeah, but then Mr. Ratburn, that's the one that confuses me because I would really feel that like an adult rat is still probably not as intelligent as a bear for sure, even at like a young bear. Yet there he is teaching him.
I feel like the only reason you're bringing this up is because you don't like rats.
It
So,
could be. I'm definitely not a fan of them. I
yeah,
do
it's like
have
a
kind of
recurring
an
theme.
aversion. I do have kind of an aversion to them. Mr. Rapper never bothered me, and hey, he probably, if we're gonna talk about progressivism, I believe that's the word. It might be the most progressive character in that show. He was gay, so
Yeah, and he married out of his species of animals too. So
yeah.
it's
What I wonder is like, because we always saw Arthur from like a very like progressive. You know what? I mean, a lot of that kind of stuff that we saw in Arthur could be translated to like a postcard, in the sense that like this is what people want to see to feel good. Is It's perfect for the age group of 6 to 12 because it portrays the world as being very inclusive, but you can't ignore some of those strange little absurdities, I suppose is what I would call them. Because, well, okay, one of the big things is that Arthur's family, a family of aardvarks, they had a dog, and that dog acted like a dog would in our world, right? And Arthur would walk the dog and feed him and let him out to go pee, et cetera, et cetera. Yet you literally have other characters in the show who are his classmates. And one of those girls, Prunella, was a poodle. So I have to wonder, like, what was the thought process? Is that just like a less evolved dog than her? Or how does that work?
Prunella was a poodle? I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. She's the purple one.
No, that's Fern.
Oh, that's Fern?
Yeah, Fern is
Oh.
a dog.
Well, then, so there you go. So instead of Prunella, then Fern. What would Fern think of Arthur's dog? I mean, that's almost like if you apply that
Well, actually,
same.
actually, Prunella's a poodle too. Prunella is a poodle, but Fern is a
Okay.
dog. Okay, so there are multiple
Ah,
dogs, and Binky's a dog too.
yeah.
So there's
You're
three
right.
classmates
You're
that are
right.
dogs, and
Yeah.
one dog owned by Arthur.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they eat from the same bowls and stuff, or they
Yeah.
do what dogs do. They,
Well, I
maybe
mean,
like
by
maybe Arthur's playing catch with a stick with his dog pal, and then all of a sudden Beaky starts to run and grabs the stick.
yeah, Binky, it's almost like Manchurian candidate signal. Whoop! And then he like literally runs through the neighborhood to get to Arthur's yard because he knows that a stick is being thrown.
Yeah, maybe he's walking down the street with Fern and Buster one day, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, the mail car is driving by, and Fern's like, "I gotta chase it. See you guys!" And then she's like
Yeah,
running
yeah.
after the car.
And then Fern's not at school the next day, so then they all say, "Well, hey, what happened to you?" And then Mr. Ratburn calls her parents and they say, "Well, a mail truck drove by. So, she when we got her, she was across town. What do you want from me?"
Yeah, but see, if dogs have to behave that way, that means every other animal has to behave like an animal too.
That's the thing. And that's what would have made Arthur more interesting, in my opinion.
Like if they like tapped into more of their animalistic behaviors.
Right.
Because
Like,
I'm sure there are other
yeah.
shows that were more like that, right?
Oh yeah. Trying to think of a good example of
Well, what
one.
about like Street Sharks? Remember that show?
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
all eating because they're eating cement and stuff. I don't think sharks do that, but
No.
you know,
Well, I mean, what did Arthur's family eat? I feel like for the most part, when the show would show them eating dinner, it was mainly spaghetti. That's like a very 90s cartoon dinner, spaghetti
yeah. Well, it's probably
and
easier to draw.
meatballs. Yeah, well, yeah, we're right, exactly. But then in I don't know if aardvarks would be able to digest the content of pasta with that starch in it. Might be bad for them.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, what are the rules of Arthur, right?
That's
Like,
what yeah,
yeah,
because it seemed like for the most part, they didn't acknowledge that they were different species, but there was a moment, and you might know of more, I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know of one where Arthur and his grandma and DW are like walking in the rain wearing raincoats, and then Arthur's grandma says, "This weather is only good for ducks." And then it shows like a family of ducks like going by them and they're like in the water like floating along and like enjoying
yeah. That
themselves.
was a significant scene to me as a kid because I
Right.
remember thinking that every animal was a mammal, right? And
Mhm.
that was the first time you saw a bird or something that wasn't a mammal as one of the people living in
Yeah.
town. Because there are no frogs, there's no turtles,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there weren't. This was not Franklin. It was all pretty much mammals.
Yeah, and it's mostly the same types because same thing with developing characters. It's easier if you already have a bunny to make another bunny, or
Yeah.
if you have a aardvark to make another one. But
And that's the funny thing about because Arthur's best friend Buster the bunny, who I am pretty convinced had ADD just based on what I saw, but I could be wrong. But if and that would make sense for a bunny actually. But could you imagine if like his family did in fact act like bunnies and they just bred like no tomorrow? And then I can just imagine, Buster comes over, talks about how he just met his new like half brothers and half sisters, and there's 10 of them that were born last week. And, I can just picture Arthur's dad like sitting around civilized and kind of making a comment like, boy, that Baxter sure gets around, huh? I don't know how they're gonna support 58 related offspring and counting. And then like it's like Arthur's mom would be like, "Shh, hon, be quiet. Don't be rude," or something. And that's something that Arthur probably thinks about up in his bedroom later that night when he's writing in his journal or something, you
Well, it's
know?
one of those things maybe he missed as a kid, but
Yeah.
maybe when you do the teenage Arthur show and his dad mentions it, he's just thinking, "Is my dad racist?" or whatever the kids think, you
But
know,
I don't know if you can say it's racist, maybe like zooist.
right?
Is
Zooist.
zooist?
Does he not like other animals? Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Well, okay, hey, look up Buster's dad, by the way, because there are three distinct versions of him. Just
Interesting.
look up Bo Baxter on Google, and there's an initial picture of him. He looks kind of
Oh
like an
yeah.
older Buster,
Yeah.
and then the next version of him looks kind of weird. He looks really strange. He's got glasses. He's got
Yep.
scraggles of hair.
Yeah.
And then the
He-
third version looks really weird because he looks straight up human.
oh yeah. Wow. That is weird. Yeah, that version, like, he looks like he's aged something like, 20, 30 years. He's got wrinkles on his face in that one, but then he looks like a human. That is so bizarre.
Yeah, because
Huh.
they usually reserve that look for when they have Mr. Rogers or they have Art Garfunkel or someone famous,
Right.
right? And then they do kind of like a human. There's like a Matt Damon episode, so they have like a Matt Damon
Oh,
Arthur character,
oh,
and he looks
wow.
kind of creepy. And yeah, all the human people that are real people look kind of creepy in that show. And then not Arthur, Buster's dad looks kind of the same. He looks like one of those, like. So I don't know if you have any opinions on something like that, where, you know,
I mean, um, so would you say that Buster's dad went through the most transformations in the show?
I mean, he got plastic surgery straight up. He's not the same
Yeah.
guy.
He's not. And they probably didn't address that he got plastic surgery. So
Well,
why did they?
what if they did? Like, what if?
Oh yeah,
Because we're talking about how there's a lot of things going on, and
yeah.
I kind of suggested an idea where they did David. So David is Arthur's dad. So instead of Arthur, it's from David's perspective, and he kind of looks at Buster's dad and thinks, "What did you do to your face, bro?" Like,
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, when I was a kid at Arthur's age, third grade, and I would go over to a friend's house to play, and maybe my dad would pick me up. My dad would like he would kind of come in and talk to the parents for a minute, and then my parents always talked about the parent of my friend
uh
or parents who came into the house, and they talked about this one dad of my one friend who they thought, because he was kind of looking around inside the house, like really, like they could tell he was like like really like assessing how much the house was worth,
uh
basically. Like they were kind of talking about that. But so yeah, so I mean, when you see a dad of your friend changing appearances like that, you definitely think about it, like, because this is who my friend hangs out with. What kind of a model is that he's getting at home? Is he gonna like tell Arthur that it's totally fine to look really different from one year to the next, and maybe you should get surgery to do so?
Yeah, they're kind of afraid of, how Arthur has those, and I think Doug has those type of things too, where they have the
Yeah.
imagination scenes,
Yeah.
like a hypothetical, and then so I wonder if David, his hypotheticals, Arthur getting the same type of surgery that Buster's dad got, and he starts looking kind of like a humanoid freak.
Oh, wow. Like, and he just kind of imagines like he and the wife are sleeping in their bed, and Arthur just like pops in, "Hey dad, look what I did to my face." And I mean, that's a parent's worst nightmare. Like if your 10-year-old son goes and gets a procedure done, like without you even like authorizing it, and he just suddenly has it done, my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know. He was a normal looking rabbit, and then I don't know
Yeah.
why they chose to do that. That's
I
Uh,
don't understand that either. And all I can really think is somebody down the line said, I suppose Arthur it probably went through. I mean, look, it went from 96 to 22. So that's 20, however many odd years, over 25. So, like, somebody somewhere took over from somebody else and said, I don't like how the dad of the rabbit looks. I'd like that changed. Thank you, and get to work, you know? And so they had no choice. And maybe he said, I want him to look like a human. In fact, I want the dad to represent me. So use me as your model.
but put
And
rabbit ears on them. Yeah.
yeah, but just put rabbit ears on him.
I think what it is that like most of the animals actually have their own noses, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So Buster has the kind of rabbit nose with the two slits, and
Yeah. And that's how the dad looked in the earlier iteration of him.
right before the
But,
whole debacle. Yeah, I
yeah.
didn't realize that this was a big thing, but it kind of is.
No, it's pretty interesting because the very first iteration of him,
Well, he's
uh,
not a regular character either. I think he is divorced from Buster's mom,
oh
so
wow.
he's not. Yeah, he doesn't regularly show up, and then he shows up, a couple episodes, and then they had a whole spin-off where they just filmed real life people all over the
Yeah.
place, and then they just had the guy do Buster's voice, kind of
Uh-huh.
talking to the people like, "Oh, what do you do in Milwaukee or whatever, wherever they're visiting," and then he's flying
Right.
with Buster's dad and a
Yeah.
rock band that they're flying around.
And oh, I think I remember this. Buster would travel with his dad, right?
Yeah.
And he'd send postcards to Arthur about it.
Yeah, and then that's where his dad became like a freaky human looking guy.
Yeah. That's interesting. So I think that there was a real focus on they want that dad. I think that the dad represented like the creators or producers of the show, and they probably thought he was the coolest character. They probably were divorced themselves, and so they really took a lot of stock in. I want this character to look cool, and maybe he has rabbit ears, but he really just looks. And because this is a guy, when I look from 1 to 2 to 3, the third he is the youngest, and second youngest is the first one where he just looks like a rabbit with a suit on,
Right, like an
and
older version
then
of Buster, yeah.
yeah, and then there's that really weird middle one that still has the bunny nose, but then those scraggles of hair. And it just seems like that's at least a 55, year old anthropomorphic character.
Yeah, that's true. I just don't get it. But because usually all the parents look just like the adult version of the kid. Like Binky's
Right.
parents look like, an adult version of Binky.
Arthur's mom had like the 80s kind of mom hairdo, dressed like she was in the 90s. So did Arthur's dad. But yeah, that is interesting. And I mean, like, again, I do think that that whole animal kingdom hierarchy is kind of bizarre that it's not being followed. But I wonder if that was the message that they wanted to put across, that like, hey, we don't see species, kind of like a progressive would say, I don't see color. Although you could argue now progressives are more focused on race than anyone, but that's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Rabbit hole, a Buster hole. But yeah, sorry.
yeah, that rabbit is procreating and Buster has a bunch of half siblings. So, yeah, I don't know. So that's basically the main characters of Arthur. I do like the episode with Art Garfunkel a lot.
Yeah, I do remember that he was singing to Buster.
Yeah, he was narrating while singing, and then
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of the episode is when they see Art Garfunkel leaving. Arthur tells his mom, "Mom, there's a dancing moose in our front yard, or a singing
Oh,
moose in
he
front." Yeah,
he was a moose.
yeah. Art Garfunkel's
Oh,
a moose. He kind
ah,
of looked like Buster's dad in that type of a universe if you look him up.
yeah. See, all I recall is him singing, "He's a sad, sad bunny. He's a sad, sad bunny." Yeah, he is a moose. I'm looking at it now. But I don't even really remember like what was going on in Buster's life that he needed Art Garfunkel
Oh,
there.
I do because they had this plot line where he just is like leaving the show for a bit. He went to like
Oh,
travel with his dad, and then so it was a storyline where Arthur is missing his friend, and
yeah.
so Buster comes back, and then he discovers that things are different from when he was originally there. So that's why Art
Okay.
Garfunkel was following him around and singing.
Yeah, it's sort of a melancholy, nostalgic feel. And I like how Art Garfunkel looks. He still has the afro.
Yeah, Art
But
Garfunkel doesn't look too bad.
yeah, but I didn't think Art Garfunkel played guitar much. But see, now I have to ask, why was it Art Garfunkel and not Paul Simon? And I think maybe because Art Garfunkel possibly didn't cost as much to have him guest.
Uh, definitely. Well, hey, I love Art Garfunkel, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
probably right because
that probably is why.
yeah, because I don't know. I could think of a lot of Paul Simon songs
Yeah.
by himself,
Oh
but
yeah.
I can't think of off the top of my head that many Art Garfunkel songs that I really listen to.
I know he put out solo albums. I couldn't tell you any songs that he did on his own. I really couldn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, but, hey, a fantastic singer. I mean, you can't,
Oh yeah.
deny that.
I think for the duo, he was probably the better singer for sure, and he was
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's why they worked well. Because I don't know. Because I love "You Can Call Me Al." That's a great song by Paul
Oh,
Simon.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love, American Tune by
Yeah.
Pulse. Yeah, that's probably my favorite one. I'm so glad that I got to see, him do that live.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. That was, probably, like, 2017 or 18 or so, but that was pretty damn cool.
So actually, maybe the reason they picked Art Garfunkel is because he's the better performer. Uh,
Could be.
so maybe it's not a negative.
He also has the more distinguished look
Mhm.
too, you know? But, I mean, it would have been cool had there been the 2 of them but at that time when, we have Garfunkel guest starring, they had been, divided or, broken up for at least 20 years, Simon and Garfunkel, so
Yeah, it's tough. It's bands break up because of ego
yeah,
or because they just can't get along with in terms of the artistic vision, right?
yeah,
You're telling like four different group of people or four different people to try to form together, and sometimes that's just difficult.
right.
Well, except for the Rolling Stones, I mean, they've been doing it forever.
I know, yeah, that's pretty nuts. Yeah, actually, I think that they have probably got to be the band that's been together the longest. Because you think about it, they've been together since the '60s and they're still tour. I don't know when they last, but it wasn't that long ago. And it's all the same members, except for Brian Jones, of course. But
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that or watching the documentary with the footage and everything. It's kind of
yeah,
tough.
yeah, it's sad.
I love this the song Under My Thumb, and
Yeah,
Brian Jones plays the marimba on that song, and it's really an amazing
huh.
performance. Yeah.
I ought to re-listen to that and, listen out for that. I just know that, I mean, he passed, somewhat early on in their, career, right? I
Well, he
mean,
was
like
already gone from the band. I think he was already difficult to deal with.
oh, right, yeah, yeah. But then that's it that I mean, like, the rest of them, I mean, even though, Keith Richards had all of his drug problems and Mick had his and all that other stuff, they still were able to make it work. I mean, that's, you gotta admire that, you know?
I think fundamentally they like to do the same type of music. Really,
Yeah,
they
for
like the
sure.
blues music that they listened to when they were kids.
Yeah.
Versus the Beatles. I mean, they were trying to do different things.
Yeah, exactly.